Before I introduce the next speaker and the next person who will help moderate the panel, Carl Mowen's running Crypto.com in Australia. It takes a lot of support to do anything, let alone this sort of conference. I sort of just want to call out specifically the fact that he's committed to the industry locally. It comes from a traditional financial services background. Congratulations, Carl, on escaping that traditional financial services background, and just has committed to the ecosystem. So one of the challenges I think faced by Australian businesses is, of course, there is a mindset that says Australian businesses and everybody else. That's a global sort of phenomenon. The reality of this conversation and what I try to engender in the conversations with government in particular is the borders just don't matter like they used to. So the mindset that is that squiggly line is dumb, plain and simple. When I talk about the disparity between, or the competition between Victoria and New South Wales and Queensland, no one cares. If you're overseas, you don't care. That squiggly line does not matter. Didn't matter much back in the day, matters even less now. So the reality is this is a global footprint that businesses are pursuing. And the flip side is Australia is able to take advantage of the global opportunity in a way that it never has before as well. So Carl, I appreciate very much that support. I'm going to welcome up on the stage Susannah Wilkinson. And she'll be she'll be interviewing and talking to Kris Marszalek, which is a pretty crazy conversation. I think you may have seen a couple of the ads that run across the internet and the world that Crypto.com is pursuing at the moment. So, Susannah, I'll be very happy to welcome you onto the stage and look forward to hearing your conversation with Kris.
Hi. Kris, welcome.
Hi, Susannah. Thanks for having me.
No, nice to have you here. I'm not sure that Crypto.com needs any introduction. Most of you will have seen the ads, but just briefly to introduce Kris. He's CEO of Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing cryptocurrency platform, which includes Crypto.com Exchange and Crypto.com NFT. Kris is committed to developing a more fair and equitable digital ecosystem, 10 million global customers, and more than 3,000 people employed, although I think I saw more recently on the website that it's 4,000, so it seems to be growing daily. You're accelerating the world's transition to cryptocurrency through a vision that is a basic human right to control one's money, data, and identity. Now, Kris is a digital commerce pioneer and seasoned entrepreneur, having grown multiple companies from the ground up. So we've got a couple of key themes running through the day here, Kris, and we've had an interesting morning so far. I'd like to talk to you about the success story that is Crypto.com, a little bit about the market opportunity in Australia, and then let's unpick this concept of where we are relative to the mainstream moment. So if we can turn to you to start with, Crypto.com is a success story. You've outlined you've got your vision, and how did you do it?
Well, I always challenge the concept of work being done. We're probably like 0.5% done on this journey, right? You have to remember that we've only started about 5-6 years ago, and this cycle with the 2021 peak was the first one we're going through as a company with a product live in the market. So yes, we've got to some initial scale, but given the trajectory of the industry and how much work is left to be done, I think this is not even day one. This is like the early morning hours of day one, right? So I want to put it in perspective because people tend to get carried away about with the hype. We're a startup. We operate globally. We feel very fortunate that we play a small role in driving the global adoption of crypto. I think that the industry and fundamentally the blockchain technology has the potential to have immense impact on the way we live, on the way the internet operates. So far we only realized a portion of this potential, so we're working really hard night and day to make this happen. We're one of the most important bridges globally between the traditional world of financial services and this innovative Web3 space. And I think as a company, we've done so pretty well over the last couple of years by being a responsible corporate citizen, by building everything on a solid foundation of compliance and security, without slowing down the pace of innovation. I think marrying the two is kind of the key to our traction.
Yeah, thank you. And we've certainly heard a lot about that, that sort of need to balance regulation and innovation throughout the course of the day. I'm really interested, this is not your first business. What were the unique opportunities and challenges that you faced in building Crypto.com? And And can you elaborate a little bit more perhaps around that innovation-regulation balance?
Right, 2016 and even 2017, when you said you're in crypto, you're basically in the money laundering business, right? This is the kind of perception that that people had of the industry, and we spent years educating major players, and this is actually not the case, and that our tech stack on the compliance front is more robust than many of the traditional institutions, and the fact that we've onboarded very early with partners like Visa really helped us lay this super strong foundation. In the early days, it was hard to open a bank account for a crypto company. Right now, what you're seeing around the world is this trend of clarity being brought to all the market participants with regulation, and this is the baseline for scaling this further. And I was very happy to hear the announcements this morning that Australia is positioning itself as really the center of financial services innovation. I mean, you need to be a crypto innovation center in order to be a financial innovation center in this decade. So I'm very happy to hear that, and definitely underscores the importance of the market for any global player.
Yeah, well, let's just pick up on that a little bit further. I was going to dive a little bit more deeply into some of the Crypto.com success, but maybe we'll come back. Just picking up on that market opportunity in Australia, and obviously there have been some announcements today that you just mentioned, but why do you see Australia as an interesting jurisdiction for Crypto.com?
Well, first of all, there's incredible engagement in the community and so much demand that needs to be satisfied in Australia, right? So our approach to it has been to do it in a regulated manner. We've been licensed in Australia for about a year and a half now. We've got stable fiat on and off ramps. We've launched a Visa card program locally, which runs. We're a Visa member. And a licensed entity here. So there's just plenty of demand. And the fact that that clearly the government is embracing it, it's going to create a very healthy ecosystem for the entire industry in Australia. So we are super committed to the strategy of having a global trusted brand, a great product that users love, but then having fully localized and fully compliant local operations. I think this is the model that that is going to be the prevailing one over the next 3-5 years in crypto space.
Okay, and just to make sure that we're not marking our own report cards, from where you sit through your global business, where does Australia stand compared to other jurisdictions? In terms of the rest of the world in crypto adoption, and from your business's perspective, how are we doing?
Data points are the data points. If you look at different research, the data points look differently, right? But you should assume that from the younger demographic, about 50% of it already holds crypto, right? Which is great. It's not as good as South Korea with like 90% plus, right? In that particular demographic, but it's very good. And again, the fact that there are frameworks that the regulators are supportive of the industry, this will allow us to just put the right investments in, create products which are great for the consumer, and drive this number upwards very rapidly. I would say that it's actually more friendly than many other jurisdictions in practice. So, and on my personal scoreboard, it's pretty high comparing to other jurisdictions.
There you go. There'll be some happy people in the room. So is there anything in your mind that could cement Australia as a centre for financial innovation in that Web3 industry that you're not seeing from Australia yet?
Well, I think we have to take it a step at a time. The fact that there's going to be a formal process for exchanges to get regulated on the ground, it's a great one. We are the gateway to this ecosystem for all the users, no matter retail or institutional, right? So having this is essential key step. And then The other thing is just not doing harm to the industry with very restrictive policies or a lack of policies, and then regulating by enforcement like some other jurisdictions, right? So I think we are on the right track here, and it's important that that the industry and the regulators and the government come together with bringing this, driving the adoption through initiatives like education. I think this is something that is so far has not been explored in too many places at scale. It's a huge opportunity, and that's something that Cryptocom certainly wishes to do and participate in very aggressively.
Yeah, I'd just like to pick up on that part around the ecosystem. You talk a lot about being involved in the ecosystem, and it seems to be, from what I can see, that you do have lots of different initiatives going on. Can you speak to us about some of those initiatives and why you see them as important?
Right, so we have to understand that no company can go alone in this space, right? It's the entire ecosystem that drives this global adoption. We've had, as an industry, about 100 million users at the end of 2020, going to 300 at the end of 2021. Still a lot of space to go, but it's only possible because you've got thousands of projects building in this space, tens of thousands of developers, and there's this huge brain drain from web to tech coming into crypto. So how we view our role in the ecosystem is, first of all, to be the company that makes it easy for the industry to scale. So can we go from 30 million holders to 1 billion holders this year? And what has to happen for this to become a reality? And the second thing we're doing is we are supporting entrepreneurs and the builders in this space. An example of it would be our venture arm, Cryptocom Capital, launched about a year ago, $500 million to deploy into early stage crypto startups. We've made so far about 40, 50 investments. And we are writing checks to people who are passionate about Web3 and want to help build this industry in the next couple of years and take it to the next level. So that's one example. The other thing is that for projects who are building in this space, we provide them access to a truly global retail user base. They can integrate whatever they're building into our ecosystem, no matter from payment side of things or the trading side of things or even NFTs. So there's an opportunity for these early stage startups to reach rapid scale, because we've already done this. We've laid the groundwork. I would say it's kind of like what we're trying to build is like what FedEx built for shipping stuff, right? So e-commerce companies would not be able to scale their businesses if there was no FedEx. So similarly, we are building very large user base in tens of millions of users, all the rails, connectivity and everything, and we're making it available to startups who build on top of it. And together we will drive this industry forward.
Yeah, thank you. And that, just on that point of scale and the speed, I read that you've launched over 100 products in the last year, and breaking that down, that's to a week, that's incredible. And you've got very ambitious plans to grow the customer base and the size. How do you do that? That's obviously a huge team working very hard. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what it's like?
All right. So we think about this a lot. The key to success in this space is to this magic improvement loop of your product. When you ship a product, you learn from your customers' feedback, you iterate, you ship it again. And this provides a real competitive advantage if you can go through those cycles very rapidly, because your product gets stickier and it can reach scale faster while retaining consumers. So we engineered the entire company to accelerate this magic loop of improvement. Every single product runs as a startup with a startup today, with dedicated product teams, engineering teams, QA design. These guys are empowered to swing for the fences. And they come up with the next big idea that will move the needle for that particular product, and then work really hard to ship it as soon as we can, and then learn from it and ship it again. I think there's still plenty of work that needs to be done. I don't think we're there in terms of the speed. It feels like we're too slow. People who see us from external, I see a lot of positive comments about how quickly we ship stuff and whatnot. Internally, it feels like it's too slow because this is the fastest industry in the world, bar none. No question. I've built 3 other startups in different areas of technology. This is the fastest. And you need to move at incredible speed. So we're still working through improvements of how we can accelerate further. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I would say that the other thing I would like to mention is that I have a fair amount of disdain for red tape, bureaucracy, and doing stuff by committee. We are now at the sweet spot as a company where you've actually you've got resources, the cool stuff, but you're still small enough to move quickly. And we're trying our very best to stay small in terms of mindset and how we operate. And people who love having an impact and really move the needle and own stuff, people who love to own stuff end to end, they tend to do and to enjoy being part of this journey.
Yeah, thank you. There's a few tips in there for us all to take away. I'd really like to come on now to this idea of the mainstream moment. There's been a lot of discussion during the day about what that means. And I think it is easy in a bit of an echo chamber like this event, not a conference, but this event, this mammoth event, surrounded by crypto enthusiasts to sort of drink the Kool-Aid and feel like we have reached this mainstream moment. Have we really, is there such a thing as a mainstream moment, or is it a gradual maturing? What are your thoughts on where we are? You said earlier that we're at, the company is still an infant, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think about this quite a bit. There are 2 ways to look at it. One is from the point of view of culture. And last year, when we renamed Staples Center to Cryptocom Arena, I certainly felt like this is one of those kind of moments, because it's just such an iconic venue and it's deeply ingrained in culture. And it felt like this crossover moment. It really was covered by all the publications globally as a sign of times. But then you go back to it, and we are always numbers driven, metrics driven, right? So we look at 300 million, right? Well, if you look at mobile internet adoption is like 5 billion people carrying mobile devices connected to the internet, right? And if you go through this traditional bell curve, the early majority for us is probably around 750 million people, right? So we're not even crossing the chasm into the early majority yet, right? So there are some signs that things have changed. And I think after the 2017 market downturn in early 2018, when prices came down, there was still some questions, is this industry going to survive and whatnot? I don't hear any of these questions today. Everybody understands the importance of it moving forward. I think very few understand the impact, though.
Yeah, I think that's right. And we certainly, the difference from being here in the room this year compared to last year, there is a different type of conversation happening, but it is all around a common theme and heading in the right direction, or at least the same direction. But are there any key things that you can see from your perspective that will create those sort of sequential tipping points? We're talking now about how to get there, not whether we should get there. Do you see any other major sort of changes like that coming?
The way I think about it is I looked at this, the industry and technology in a 20-year time frame. So we crossed kind of the midpoint. And, you know, if you started from the invention of Bitcoin, and then there's this first stage where you've got the concept of scarce digital gold. And that's the first couple of years, mostly centered around trading of this new asset. Then, you know, the technology improved through the usage of smart contracts, and you've got programmable money, right? So that expands the number of use cases to cover pretty much any kind of financial service that you can imagine can be rebuilt on blockchain. Then the infrastructure improves again, and suddenly you've got the possibility to do things like blockchain gaming, right? And from blockchain, the jump from a proof of work blockchain to programmable money is pretty complex. To move from that to gaming, okay, that's, but you know, from blockchain gaming to entire social networks running on blockchain, that's just a very small step. There's still some scaling challenges that as an industry we need to resolve. There's plenty of R&D work that needs to be put into it. But hey, the industry just raised like $30 billion last year, right? So there's plenty of talent and plenty of capital to tackle these over the next few years. And with social networks, eventually you just go to full ubiquity. You know, Facebook has whatever, 3 billion MAUs, right? There's no reason why we shouldn't and wouldn't be able to get there, especially that the fundamentals of this shift are so strong. Users will no longer be the product. You will be the co-owner of the network, right? So all these things are kind of, all the pieces are falling into place. And I think as we look backwards and connect the dots a couple of years down the road, it will be clear that the adoption curve just accelerating with the ever expanding number of use cases that the industry is covering. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm getting the look from Steve on my right here, so I'm going to ask you one very quick last question. What are you most excited about in the next 12 months, given that you've had a massive last 12 months? What are you most excited about in the next 12 months?
We've got some pretty amazing product launches in the payment space, and 2 of them are super innovative, and they're coming to Australia. So we will be looking forward to launching these. We're going to be the only company in the market with these innovative products. I am very much looking forward to what we're going to launch in the blockchain and blockchain/social space, because that is the next frontier for the industry. And you know, we are investors in this space. We're going to be builders in this space. There's obviously plenty of activity going in the core areas of trading and NFTs. So that's kind of a given. But I'm very much looking forward to these new gaming and social experiences that will help us drive the adoption to 1 billion users.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kris, for your time. I'll hand back to Steve.
Thank you, Susannah.